Hi guys, this is Mandy from MandyArtMarket.com, and this is how I made my new vector cherry blossom freebie. Hello everybody. So we are starting off today with an Illustrator file. I'm using Adobe Illustrator 2018, and I'm drawing with a Wacom Intuos Pro tablet and pen. I find that much easier than using a mouse, so that's how I do most of my drawing. And that's it. Let's go. So the first thing I usually do is grab a few references. If I have my own photographs or sketches that I've done, sometimes I use those, but in this case I'm just grabbing a few references off of Google Images. The references are just to, they don't end up in the final product. They're just to get a sense of the size and the shape of the petals. I find it useful for flowers and organic shapes especially. So I'm going in here and tracing around the outside of the flower petals with the blob brush using my tablet and stylus. This is just going to give me an approximate shape to work with. And I'm setting up the symbols there. Symbols are images that you can use over and over. You place them around your file as instances, and so, but it's still linked to the original image. So when you go back in and you change one of those instances, it'll change all of them all over your project, which is really helpful when I'm doing these floral things because I end up having hundreds and hundreds of the same flower, dozens or sometimes hundreds of the same flower. And that way, if you need to change them, you just have to go into each of the original images instead of having to go into all 100 or 200 or however many I have flowers around, if that makes sense. So I'm just going in and adding some details. Checking again for checking the references again on Google Images. That center looks terrible. It's okay, I'm going to go back and change it after. It's hard to get transparencies sometimes. When you're working in vector files, the edges are really sharp. It's the nature of vector graphics that they don't have any blurring or feathering around the edges, so they do look really sharp, which sometimes is a good thing, but I find with flowers and organic stuff it's sometimes too sharp and too graphic looking. So I find layering several colors on top of each other helps to soften the look of it a little bit. So I'm just going back in now to each of those instances. I think I made 6 blossoms. So I'm just going to go in and save my file. Good idea. Go into each one and add the details on there. So adding some of those little pistons around the outside of the blossoms for detail. And some shadowing. There we go. Using the Wacom stylus, or I mean it doesn't have to be Wacom, I just mean any decent stylus, makes it a lot easier to get a sort of free-flowing organic shape. Trying to do it with the mouse and the pen tool I find very, very difficult, especially when you're used to, like I am, coming from a background of like fine arts where you're doing everything manually. So switching to a digital vector format can be really stark and jarring. you have more control of the shape with the pen. And there I'm just layering a few petals around in different shades and different levels of transparency. Again, that's going to help with more, making them look a little bit more organic and not so digital, I guess, even though they are digital images, clearly. So just going back in and working all the petal details out, different colors, and the centers, and the, what are those called? Stamen? Pistils? Pistons. I don't know what they're called. Those fluffy middle hairy things. So I'm just going and laying things out. For me, it's always an iterative process. I go back over things over and over and over, kind of getting the basic shapes down and then putting in some details and then going back and moving things around and then more details. And here I'm just merging all the branches into one shape. They started out again by using that Wacom brush and the blob brush tool in Illustrator. And what's nice about it too is that the Wacom tablet that I have is pressure sensitive, so you can get those tapered tips on your lines really easily, which again can be a bit tricky to do with a mouse. There we go, laying out another branch. Now that I've got the blossoms done, this goes really fast because I just keep using instances of that same symbol, of the same 6 symbols, and all I have to do is place them around on the branches. And now I'm going to go in and get some alternate type of blossoms, some from the side and some from the back. Oh my gosh, a bird just flew to my window of my office. There was a bird fluttering outside the window. Anyway, so I think I ended up doing 3 or 4 side blossoms and maybe only 2. A couple of back ones as well. So we get some different angles and some variation in there. And this video, just to give you an idea of how long this usually takes me, this video is sped up 20 times faster than I work. So it actually took me, I think, about 6 hours or something to do the drawing. A little bit more than that, maybe. Oh, this is where I went for a pizza break. Had to eat some pizza for dinner. Oh, maybe that's my pizza break. Yeah, I think that's my pizza break. I'll come back in a second here. There we go. Now I did this one as a freebie, so if you want to download these images, you can go to my website at MandyArtMarket.com. I'll put the link in the description as well, but you can download this one for free and use it for cards or home decor or whatever you want to do with it. And all my images, you can also edit them yourself. If you have access to Illustrator, you can always, you know, change colors, change shapes, move things around. Just don't resell them, please. That's all. Yeah, so now I'm just going back. I've got the basic branches down, and I'm just going to go back in and add some of the darker blossoms that I created and leaves and details like that. And now I'm doing the title treatment here, obviously. Trying to get the fonts to look right with the image. These title pages I always do with, even with a freebie, I do them because when I'm posting on Etsy or Creative Market or any of those third-party sites that I sell my images on, you need to have a title image. I call it a title image. That's not the actual name for it, but you need to have a sort of preview image so people can see what they're getting when they download your files. So I treat my freebies the same way, just so that people can see what's in the package. Making another branch. I think I'm going to aim for about 6 branches for this freebie, just to give lots of options. Scattering a few flowers around, fill in some white space. The other thing is, guys, it's awesome to be on YouTube finally because I can actually talk to people who are using my art. If there's other stuff that you would like to see drawn or like to see as a freebie, let me know in the comments below because I can do just about anything. And I'm always looking for suggestions for what people might like. There we go. That looks nice. So now I'm just going to go in and add some more detail-y stuff. So a few buds. Again, I'm just tracing the basic shape and then I'll go in and add details and color to it after. But yeah, doing a few buds and a few more leaves and branches. This is going to be just a smaller spray of flowers. I do the blossoms themselves as symbols, but then I just use my pen tool, my blob brush and my Wacom pen to create the stems and the branches so that I can give each one a little bit of an individual look without having to redraw it every time. The big time saver. That little spray of flowers does not fit where I wanted it, so I'm going to make another one. Kind of the same layout as this one up here, the photo up there that I was using for a reference. Again, I'm just using the photo to give me an idea of how I should lay them out in terms of scale and how the flowers look in relation to the leaves and stems. You can see I'm making use of the graphic styles option as well. That's another great tool for when you're doing this kind of stuff because graphic styles work the same way as symbols work for images, but graphic styles are the appearance and the color of the items. So if you use a graphic style for the blossoms, for all of the blossoms, and I make them pink and outlined in darker pink, I can go back into that graphic style and overwrite it, say with blue with darker blue or purple with darker purple, and it will change every flower that has that graphic style applied to it automatically. So it's, again, a big time saver. You don't have to go back in and change all of the colors manually. And there we go. That was the basics of how I made my latest freebie. If you want to grab those vector images, and they're also included as PNGs if you can't work in vector or you don't have access to Illustrator, head over to my website, www.MandyArtMarket.com, and it'll be in the blog freebies section. But again, I'll put a link down below so you can grab it. And that's it. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.